The rain streaked down the restaurant window like tears on a guilty conscience. I sat 2 tables away from my wife Zara, watching her laugh at something her boss Aiden LeRoy had just whispered in her ear. She touched his hand across the candlelit table, her wedding ring catching the dim light. My phone buzzed. A text from Zara. "Stuck late at work again, honey. Love you." I almost laughed out loud. The woman had nerves of steel, I'd give her that. Here she was, playing footsie with her department head at Romano's, the most expensive restaurant in downtown Cleveland, while texting me lies smooth as butter. I snapped a photo through the window, crystal clear shot of their intimate dinner. Then I typed back, "Work hard tonight, sweetheart." I attached the photo and hit send. Watching Zara's face drain of color when she saw my message was worth every penny of the private investigator I'd hired 3 weeks ago. She grabbed Aiden's wrist, showing him the phone screen. His smug expression melted faster than ice cream in July. I'd been an IT specialist for 12 years, fixing other people's digital messes. Tonight, I was about to create the biggest one of my career. Standing up slowly, I left a 20 on my table and walked toward the exit. As I passed their table, I heard Zara hiss, "How long has he known?" "Long enough," I said quietly, not stopping. The November air bit through my jacket as I stepped outside. Through the restaurant's front window, I could see them arguing in heated whispers. Aiden kept looking toward the door, probably wondering if I was still watching. I was. From my car across the street, I pulled out my laptop and connected to the restaurant's Wi-Fi. Romano's had terrible cybersecurity. Took me less than 10 minutes to access their reservation system. There it was. LeRoy, Aiden, party of 2, corporate account, Meridian marketing, company money, even better. I forwarded everything to a secure folder I'd been building. Photos, credit card receipts, hotel bookings, text message screenshots from Zara's backup phone that she thought I didn't know about. 3 months of evidence, all perfectly legal to obtain since half of it came from our joint accounts and shared devices. My phone rang. Zara's panicked voice. "Orion, we need to talk. It's not what—" "Save it," I said. "I'll be home in an hour. You might want to start packing." I hung up and started the engine. In my rearview mirror, I watched Aiden storm out of the restaurant, leaving Zara sitting alone at their romantic table for 2. My apartment felt different when I walked in, like the air itself had changed. I'd lived here with Zara for 4 years, but tonight it was just mine again. I'd already changed the locks that afternoon while she was at her client meeting. I poured myself 3 fingers of whiskey and opened my laptop. Time to get to work. First, I logged into our joint checking account and transferred everything to my personal account. Perfectly legal. Both our names were on it. Then I called the bank and reported Zara's debit card stolen. They'd cancel it immediately. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. Next, I accessed Zara's direct deposit information through our shared tax software and changed her payroll to route to a closed account. Her next paycheck would bounce back to Meridian Marketing's HR department with a nice little flag. The evidence folder was ready. I'd spent weeks preparing this moment, gathering every piece of ammunition I'd need. Hotel receipts charged to Aiden's corporate card, explicit text messages between them discussing their weekend getaways, photos of them entering his penthouse apartment, even a recording of Zara lying to me about working late while I could hear Aiden's voice in the background. I scheduled an email to Meridian's compliance department, board of directors, and HR manager Chloe Salter, who happened to be Zara's best friend and the person who'd been covering for her affair. The email would send automatically at 9 a.m. tomorrow, complete with a detailed timeline and all supporting evidence. My security camera app chimed. Zara was outside, fumbling with her key at the front door. I watched her growing frustration as the lock refused to turn. She tried her credit card at the bodega next door, declined. Then her debit card, declined. Her phone started ringing, probably the bank's fraud department. She pounded on the door. "Orion, open up! What did you do?" I turned up the volume on my television and ignored her. Through the camera feed, I watched her pace the hallway, making frantic phone calls. First to her mother, who apparently wasn't answering. Then to Chloe, who picked up but clearly wasn't offering much help based on Zara's increasingly desperate tone. Finally, she called Aiden. I couldn't hear the conversation, but I could see her gesturing wildly. After 5 minutes, she hung up and slumped against my door. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "This is Aiden LeRoy. We need to talk like adults. Call me." I saved his number and immediately forwarded it to the private investigator who'd been tracking his movements. Then I poured another whiskey and called him back. "Orion." His voice was smooth, confident. "Look, I think there's been a misunderstanding." "No misunderstanding," I interrupted. "You've been sleeping with my wife for 3 months. I have photos, receipts, and recordings. The only question is how public you want this to get." "Now hold on. I'm not holding on anything. But you might want to call your wife Jennifer and explain things before she sees it on the morning news." I hung up and immediately called Jennifer LeRoy. She answered on the second ring. "Mrs. LeRoy? This is Orion Vanton. I'm afraid I have some information about your husband that you need to see." The next morning arrived gray and cold, matching my mood perfectly. I'd slept better than I had in months, knowing that in 30 minutes every executive at Meridian Marketing would receive my carefully crafted email titled Expense Report, Irregularities, and Code of Conduct Violations. At exactly 9 a.m., my phone started buzzing. Text messages, missed calls, voicemails. I ignored them all and drove to my office at Tech Solutions, Inc., where I managed the IT infrastructure for a dozen small businesses around Cleveland. My boss, Mike Patterson, was waiting for me with coffee and a concerned expression. "Rough night? You look like you haven't slept." "Actually slept great," I said, settling at my desk. "Today's going to be interesting, though." At 9:47 a.m., my personal phone rang. Chloe Salter's name appeared on the screen. "Orion, what have you done?" Her voice was tight with barely controlled panic. "I sent some documents to the appropriate people," I said calmly, troubleshooting a server issue while I talked. "Standard whistleblower protocol. You've destroyed Zara's career, and Aiden's. The whole board is in emergency session." Funny how cheating on company time with company money tends to upset the people who sign the paychecks. "You don't understand the position you've put everyone in." I understand perfectly. Zara and Aiden put themselves in this position. I just documented it. I hung up and got back to work. Around 11, Mike came over looking puzzled. "There's a woman here to see you. Says she's your wife. She seems upset." Through the glass partition, I could see Zara pacing in our small lobby. Her hair was disheveled, her makeup smeared. She'd clearly spent the night in her car or on someone's couch. "Send her in," I said. Zara burst through the door like a storm front. "How could you do this to me? To us?" Every head in the office turned. Mike stepped closer, probably ready to call security. "Do what?" I asked, not looking up from my computer. "Tell the truth?" "You've ruined everything. They suspended me pending investigation. Aiden, too. The whole company is talking about it." I finally looked at her. Dark circles under her eyes, wrinkled clothes, trembling hands. "You ruined everything 3 months ago when you started lying to me." "It wasn't supposed to happen. It just what? You accidentally went to hotels with him? Accidentally used his corporate card for romantic dinners? Accidentally told me you were working late while you were in his bed?" The office had gone completely quiet. Even the phones seemed to have stopped ringing. Zara's voice dropped to a whisper. "Please, we can work this out. I'll end it with him. We can go to counseling." I stood up and walked to my filing cabinet, pulling out a manila folder. Inside were printed copies of everything I'd sent to her company. I set it on the reception desk, where everyone could see. "These are the receipts for your 3-month affair," I announced to the room. Hotel bills, restaurant charges, text messages, photos, all charged to Meridian Marketing's corporate accounts. Zara lunged for the folder, but Mike intercepted her. "Ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to leave." "This isn't over," she hissed at me, as security escorted her toward the exit. "You're right," I called after her. "It's not." That evening, I met my old friend Rick Morrison at Murphy's Tavern, a dive bar on the east side where the beer was cheap and the lighting was dim enough to hide secrets. Rick had been a cop for 15 years before switching to private security, and he'd been feeding me information about Aiden's habits for the past month. "Your wife and her boyfriend are here," Rick said, nodding toward a corner booth. "Showed up about 20 minutes ago. They look like they're planning something." I glanced over. Zara and Aiden were huddled together, speaking in urgent whispers. Aiden kept checking his phone and looking around nervously. "Let's go say hello," I said. We walked over to their table. Aiden looked up with poorly concealed hostility. "What do you want?" "Just being neighborly," I said, sliding into the booth across from them. Rick remained standing, arms crossed. "Heard you two had a rough day at the office." Zara's eyes were red from crying. "Orion, please. Can't we handle this privately?" "We could have, 3 months ago, before you decided to handle Aiden privately." Aiden leaned forward, trying to project authority he no longer had. "Look, I'll pay you. Name your price. Whatever you want to make this go away." "Make what go away? The truth?" "The board is meeting tomorrow," he continued. "If you withdraw your complaint, admit you made it up because you were angry." I laughed out loud. "You want me to lie for you? That's rich." 50,000, Aiden said desperately. "Cash, no questions asked." "I don't want your money." I pulled out my phone and opened the voice recording app. "But I am curious about something. Did you really think you could buy me off?" Aiden's face flushed red. "You're recording this?" "Public place. Perfectly legal." I kept the phone visible on the table. "So let me get this straight. You're offering me money to lie to your company's board of directors about your affair with my wife?" "That's not... I didn't... Because that sounds like bribery to me." "Rick, doesn't that sound like bribery to you?" Rick nodded. "Sure does. Especially with him being in a position of corporate authority." Aiden stood up abruptly, knocking over his beer. "This is harassment." "No," I said calmly. "This is consequences." He took a step toward me, fists clenched. Rick moved closer, but I held up a hand. "Go ahead," I told Aiden. "Assault me in front of 20 witnesses while I'm recording. I'm sure that'll help your legal situation." Instead, he grabbed Zara's arm. "We're leaving." "Actually," I said, "you might want to check your messages first. I sent your wife Jennifer all the photos about an hour ago. She was very interested to see where you've been spending your evenings." Aiden went pale. He fumbled for his phone, checking his messages. His face crumpled as he read. "She's filing for divorce," he whispered. "Probably for the best," I said. "I hear she's going after half of everything, including that penthouse you've been using for your romantic getaways." Zara was crying openly now. "You've destroyed both our lives." "No," I said, standing up. "You destroyed your own lives. I just documented it." As they stumbled toward the exit, I called after them. "Oh, and Aiden, you might want to find a new job. I hear Meridian's board meeting didn't go well today." 2 days later, I received an invitation to a party at Aiden's penthouse. The invitation came from Chloe Salter, who apparently was trying to rally support for her suspended friends. According to Rick's intelligence, it was supposed to be a strategy session, how to minimize the damage and get their jobs back. I had other plans. I arrived fashionably late, slipping past the doorman with a fake catering badge I'd made at work. The penthouse was packed with Meridian marketing employees, all talking in hushed tones about the scandal that had rocked their company. Chloe spotted me immediately. "What are you doing here?" "Thought I'd see how the other half lives," I said, looking around at the expensive furniture and city view. Nice place. Shame Aiden's about to lose it. You need to leave, now. Actually, I think everyone needs to see something first. I pulled out a small projector I'd borrowed from work and connected it to my phone. Within seconds, I was streaming live video to the penthouse's smart TV system and simultaneously broadcasting to a private YouTube channel I'd set up. The first image that appeared on every screen in the apartment was Zara and Aiden kissing at Romano's restaurant. The room went silent. "Ladies and gentlemen of Meridian Marketing," I announced, "I thought you might like to see how your suspended colleagues have been spending company money." More photos flashed across the screens. Hotel receipts, credit card statements, text messages planning their secret meetings. Aiden came charging across the room. "Turn that off!" "Can't do that," I said, backing toward the balcony door. "This is live streaming to the internet. Probably has a few hundred viewers by now." He lunged for my phone, but I was ready. I stepped aside, letting his momentum carry him toward the sliding glass door. He stumbled, but caught himself. "The board is watching this," someone in the crowd whispered. That was the point. I'd sent the streaming link to every executive at Meridian, along with several local news outlets and the Better Business Bureau. Zara appeared beside Aiden, tears streaming down her face. "Please stop this. Haven't you hurt us enough?" "Hurt you?" I kept the phone camera focused on them. "I haven't hurt anyone. I've just shown people who you really are." "You're destroying innocent people," Chloe shouted from across the room. "Innocent?" I turned the camera toward her. "You mean like how you've been covering for them, falsifying HR reports, hiding expense irregularities?" Her face went white. She hadn't realized I'd been investigating her too. "That's right, folks," I continued for my online audience. "Chloe Salter, HR manager at Meridian Marketing, has been actively concealing corporate policy violations to protect her friend's affair." My phone buzzed with notifications. The stream was getting shared across social media. Local news outlets were picking it up. This was going viral in real time. Aiden made another grab for my phone, but this time I was backed against the balcony railing. The November wind whipped around us, 30 stories above the city. "Give me that phone," he demanded. "Sure," I said, and I dropped it over the edge. His eyes went wide as he watched it fall, taking all his secrets with it into the night. "Don't worry," I told him. "Everything's backed up to the cloud. The stream will keep running from my laptop downstairs." The next morning, I woke up to 17 missed calls and 43 text messages. The story had exploded overnight. Local news stations were running segments about corporate corruption and workplace affairs. Social media was buzzing with hashtags like Chak Meridian Scandal and Chak Corporate Affair. But the best part was the official statement from Meridian Marketing's board of directors, posted on their website at 6 a.m. Following a thorough investigation into allegations of misconduct, Meridian Marketing has terminated the employment of Aiden LeRoy, Zara Vanton, and Chloe Salter, effective immediately. The company has also implemented new policies regarding expense reporting and workplace relationships. I was sipping coffee and reading the news coverage when my doorbell rang. Through the security camera, I could see Zara standing in the hallway, holding a single suitcase. I opened the door, but left the chain lock engaged. "I have nowhere to go," she said quietly. "My parents won't talk to me. Chloe blames me for getting her fired. Aiden won't return my calls." "That sounds like a personal problem." "I know you hate me. I know I deserve this, but I'm begging you, stop." I held up a hand. "You made your choices. Now you get to live with them." "Where am I supposed to go?" "Maybe you should have thought about that before you decided to throw away our marriage for a promotion and some expensive dinners." I started to close the door, but she pressed her hand against it. "I loved you," she whispered. "No," I said. "You loved the idea of having me as backup while you explored better options. There's a difference." This time I did close the door. I watched through the camera as she stood there for several minutes before finally walking away, dragging her suitcase behind her. My phone rang. It was Rick. "You might want to turn on Channel 7, he said. "They're doing a follow-up story." I switched on the television just in time to see a reporter standing outside Aiden's penthouse building. Former marketing executive Aiden LeRoy was evicted from his downtown apartment this morning after his wife Jennifer filed for divorce and froze their joint assets. Mr. LeRoy could not be reached for comment. The camera panned to show Aiden loading boxes into the back of an old pickup truck, looking like he'd aged 10 years in 3 days. Meanwhile, the reporter continued, the whistleblower who exposed the affair has become something of a folk hero on social media, with supporters praising his methodical approach to seeking justice. I turned off the TV and looked around my quiet apartment. For the first time in months, I felt completely at peace. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "This is Chloe. We need to talk. There's something you don't know about all this." I stared at the message for a long moment, then deleted it without responding. Whatever games were left to play, I was done playing them. I'd gotten exactly what I wanted: the truth exposed, justice served, and my life back. The rain had stopped. Through my window, I could see the sun breaking through the clouds over Cleveland, casting long shadows across the city where 3 careers had just ended, and one man had finally learned to stop being a victim. I poured myself another coffee and got back to work.